Welcome back. If you're busy, like you're distracted right now, you got to stop. You just got to sit down and just pay attention for the next 10 minutes or so. We've got to get through some very heavy lifting in what's happening down inside the courtroom in Brunswick, Georgia, the shooting death of Ahmaud Arbery murder trial, because there are some legal issues that are a little bit confusing that are taking place. It's not the easiest stuff to deal with. So we've got experts that are going to deal with it, but let's start here. Glynn County Police Officer Ricky Minshew testified today. He responded. He had a body cam with him, but he's on the witness stand, and watch what happens. This is not what you would expect to happen. Take a look.
Did Brian ever talk about whether he should have been chasing Ahmaud?
He did.
Okay, and I'm gonna ask you to turn to page 20, lines 23 through 24, and just tell us specifically what did Mr. Brian say in terms of...
Could you give me the lines again?
Sure. Lines 23 through 24 in terms of Mr. Brian's involvement.
All right, and one more time for the page.
Page 20. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Might be going a little bit too fast.
23. He said, I mean, this would have never happened, you know. He said, I mean, this would have never happened, you know. Should I have been chasing him? I don't know.
So you've got the responding officer reading a transcript from his body cam. We have the body cam, like we have it here at Court TV. I've shown it to you plenty of times in the buildup and over the course of the last year. Let me show you. What he was just reading is on camera. It's recorded on video and audio. Take a look.
Where is the shotgun located at during this while the black guy is punching? You said the black guy was punching the white guy in the face, right? In the head?
Yeah.
While he's punching him, where is
Most of the time it's down like this.
Okay.
And Travis really can't get away from him, can't pull up with the shotgun. I think Travis even gets a lick or two in.
Okay.
And the other black guy gets another lick or two in. And about that time, the shotgun gets raised up, and he pulls the trigger.
Okay.
And then it seems like it goes for a second of struggling again.
Okay.
I mean, like, good 10 seconds maybe.
Okay.
Before again. I think I heard three shots.
Was he defending himself? Did it look like he was defending himself to you?
Yeah. I mean, if the guy would have stopped, you know, I mean, find out what was going on, he obviously was up to something. Okay. I mean, this would have never happened. You know, should we have been chasing him? I don't know. I mean, but, yeah, no, at that point one time when I cornered him up over here, he was trying to get in my truck.
And I saw a lot of messages and posts on social media. Why are they reading the transcript? Why aren't they showing the jury the body cam video that we've all seen? Let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Julia Janae, who's live in Brunswick, Georgia tonight. Julia, let's start. This is the tough part, right? We got to figure out exactly and try to understand and explain why this jury is listening to an officer read a transcript when we've got a video and an audio of everything that he's reading.
This was a decision by the prosecution. They say they are trying to avoid the legal landmine that is the Bruton rule, or the Bruton case, that essentially, because they chose to file this case or indict this case jointly, and they are going after 3 co-defendants who all gave statements to police, there's the possibility that those statements could be incriminating. And we know that each one of those defendants has the right to remain silent, to not take the stand and then be under cross-examination by those other attorneys that are in the room. But if these incriminating statements come out, there's not the opportunity for these other defendants to then cross-examine that person if they don't take the stand. So to avoid violation of their Sixth Amendment rights and the Confrontation Clause, they are not, or the prosecution rather, says that they are trying to avoid putting in that video. Their remedy for all of this was to get an agreement with the defense before the trial to say what statements they would be putting in, and that they didn't plan to play any of the body cam video, but that they would put it into evidence for the record only. But it didn't seem like that was the way things worked out once trial started. Take a listen to Prosecutor Donakowski after the defense said they now want to play that video.
The state feels, having had an agreement from the defense, that all of a sudden we've tendered it into evidence with the purpose of making it part of the record, and with our intent clear that it was not going to be played. And now, of course, Mr. Sheffield's telling me, oh no, it's tendered into evidence, it's in evidence, I'm now going to get to play it. So the state, of course, feels a little hoodwinked, bamboozled, that I had an agreement with the defense attorneys as to what the nature of this was, and our intent to just make it part of the record. Now, if that was an error on my part to be so transparent and forthright and to try and work with them, and I shouldn't have had this tendered in, and I should let them go ahead and tender the body cam in to then show portions, I understand. And I would understand the court's ruling at this juncture. If it's in and they want to play portions of it, then that's on us for having attempted to do the right thing, and we'll go down that path.
A really sticky issue, Vinny, where the defense was able later in the day to put in some of those portions, but the state, it seems, was really trying not to be the ones to tender that evidence to allow the defense to then, on cross-examination of their own witnesses, to bring in that body camera footage.
All right, let me bring the think tank, because I think there's more to this story. I mean, the prosecution is saying it's a brutal issue. I don't want to use a statement by one defendant that incriminates another one, because then they can't cross-examine that statement made. Lawrence, is that what's really going on? Or is it that prosecutors don't want that body cam in front of this jury because each of these defendants basically lay out their entire story and their defense in those statements? They tell their whole story without being cross-examined.
Right. I think Ms. Donakowski's being not hoodwinked. She's trying to pretend she's hoodwinked and playing it the other way. You heard Rodney Bryant say what Travis Michael is doing, who's acting in self-defense. He sounds more credible on a video than he does with a police officer stumbling through the transcript and reading it. So, yeah, that's absolutely what's going on. I mean, look, it's a sticky situation when you charge 3 people and you have brutal issues. I've had to have cases severed. Maybe the judge just severed the case, but because they don't want to try this case 2 or 3 times, not going to. But it creates appellate landmines, and the cases get reversed for these issues. So you're leaving out important pieces of testimony. And, Donakowski likes it better this way because it sounds better for her. And that was the argument earlier about rule of completeness. We don't hear the whole statement, and you got to play it. She's hoodwinking the judge and saying that. My closest friend's Paul Camarillo is the other prosecutor, so I won't say anything bad about him ever. But this is not the way to do it.
Casey, early, should the jury see the entire body cam with each defendant basically telling their story without being cross-examined?
If that's the defense strategy, I say play it. I mean, this is adversarial for a reason. And I understand that there was a stipulation in the beginning, and she feels as if the defense pulled the wool over her eyes. But at the same time, a trial is growing. I mean, you don't know what's going to come out in direct or cross-examination. So possibly this was a strategic move. And I agree with my colleague here that it sounds better from the defendants themselves telling their story right when it happened, as opposed to hearing someone else read that transcript without the tone or how it was said at the time. So I don't think that they were trying to, have this issue with the prosecutor, but play it, and maybe this avoids the defense or the co-defendants from taking the stand and testifying.
Yeah, Michael, from where I'm sitting, like I said this in the beginning, I said if I was the prosecutor, I would do everything I could to keep that video out, because if these defendants are going to say self-defense, I want them on the witness stand live in front of the jury, and I want to cross-examine them. I don't want to turn this into the George Zimmerman trial, where George Zimmerman told his story and was never cross-examined by anyone. It was on video, and for some reason, prosecutors played it in that case, and it looks like it's going to end up being played in this case.
Absolutely. I mean, if you're a prosecutor or any attorney for that matter, you want to play the snippets that help your case, not hurt it. So having an officer read certain portions of it obviously is much more preferable than playing the whole video and hearing the defendants tell out their story for themselves. So it makes sense, obviously that the prosecution wants to keep that whole thing out and that they're arguing against it. I totally understand their position. For the defense, it absolutely makes sense to try to get that video in to tell their client's story without having to put them on the stand. So from both perspectives, I understand where they're coming from. However, I do think that they should be able to get at least portions of that video in.
Yeah. At the end of the day, if these defendants, if that body cam comes in, it's advantage defense if they see the whole thing, just because now they don't have to testify. Because what they say in the video is exactly what they would say on the witness stand on direct. What we don't know is what they would say on cross-examination.